Hello, everyone. I hope you're all very well and welcome to the Health Path podcast. Today I have a really special guest. It is Ben Coomber. I have known Ben for probably just over a decade now, and I actually have quite a vivid memory of how I got to know Ben as well as I do now. I remember sitting in a consultation room and seeing probably a Facebook post where he was looking for a sort of nutritionist who had experience in functional testing because he wanted to launch what became the BTN lab. BTN stands for Body Type Nutrition. And that is a service that I ran for probably a couple of years, whereby people would come. We would do some functional testing and support them on their health journey. And I applied and I got the role. And it really was a catalyst for me, I think, in regards to becoming a more experienced and knowledgeable practitioner, because I just got to work with so many clients over that 2-year period because of the platform Ben had already built, ultimately. So I owe a lot to Ben in regards to my professional career and my professional journey. So over that 2-year period, I ran a huge amount of functional tests, all the typical ones: microbiome panels, organic acid testing, blood work, hormonal profiles. And it really gave me insight into sort of trends that you see and interventions that work more often than they don't. And it also gave me an insight into, I guess, personal trainers. I mean, I had been a personal trainer for a decade, so I kind of knew the behind the scenes, but it really demonstrated that they need quite a lot of additional support because of the lifestyles they lead. It's a lot. Getting up at 5, seeing your first client at 6, maybe seeing 3 or 4 clients in the morning, maybe doing 1 or 2 exercise classes during the day, or seeing clients and then seeing clients maybe 5 till 8 or 5 till 9 in the evening. You need to be on it during those times because not only are you supporting them and making sure that their technique is correct and things, but you're ultimately motivating them. So you need to be very present and upbeat, and that itself is quite demanding. So I saw a lot of personal trainers with quite a lot of health issues, not because they weren't doing the basics well, but they just had a lot of demand on their bodies. So I guess my my point there is one, that as a personal trainer we really need to be diligent around our self-care and potentially support ourselves more than we are encouraging our clients to support themselves. But also just publicly a bit of gratitude towards Ben for trusting me in that process. So what we're going to talk about today is Ben's journey. He developed COVID, which turned into long COVID in 2020, 2021, and it took him on a really interesting journey that I think has altered the way he sees things in some areas quite significantly. And today's conversation is partly about what he's taken away from that healing process. As he'll share with you, he was someone who's always been very active, really quite healthy. He was able to do what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. And then things changed, and he had to sort of navigate that, I guess, for the first time. And when we have to do that, I think it obviously gives us a sense into what it's like for our clients, especially obviously if we are working in an area where our clients are ultimately chronically unwell. It gives us insight that you just can't get any other way. So there's a kind of, I think, a theme within this conversation around, what am I trying to say? Using adversity, using that struggle and finding the gold within it. There is that sort of term post-traumatic growth, and I think that's such an important concept for all of us to be aware of, and in a sense that's part of today's conversation, taking that struggle, that adversity, that challenge, and finding ways to not just sort of get back to where we were, but to become stronger, wiser, and really to try and ensure that we don't end up in that situation again. Now, COVID might be a slight exception because of how unique it was, but you get the point. So, that's enough of me rambling on. Here is my conversation with the brilliant Ben Coomber. I hope you enjoy, everyone. Mr. Ben Coomber, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's been a while. We've just been backtracking how long we've known each other, and it's been a good 10 years.
It's been a good 10 years. I'm pretty sure this is the third time I've seen you in person.
Which is weird, really, isn't it?
It is weird. It's the modern world, I guess. But yeah, you're in my little garden studio as we record this. Thank you for coming. And yeah, let's kind of dive into today's conversation, which is a little bit, I guess, around your health journey, what you've learned along the way. You've obviously been in the fitness health space for a long time yourself, so you've got 17 years. So you've got lots of different experiences. You've spoken to thousands upon thousands of people. Should we start with kind of what's been going on for you more recently?
Sure. So 2020, I had my first child, and that was obviously a whirlwind experience for anyone that is a parent. You're tired, you don't know what's going on, you're getting bugs left, right and centre, and that was right at the start of COVID. So the whole world was just a mess. People were just, not optimal, not in a good place. So I say we because I think my wife got it as well. We both got COVID mid 2020. Didn't think anything of it because we just kind of got tired and all the rest of it, usual kind of like symptoms, just like really bad cold. Shook it off, nothing to really think of. And then later on that year, everyone was trying to, I say everyone, as an entrepreneur and having an online business, we were trying to do lots of different things with marketing, and I was trying to think outside the box. I was doing these like physical challenges, these charity challenges, and I first did a cycling event. It was like 4 hours on a bike, and I did it, and at the end of it, it took me like 3.5 weeks to recover, and I was like, that's weird. Like, I'm a fit guy. It usually take me like 2 or 3 days to shake that off, and I'd be back in the gym or whatever. So I was like, okay. Got back to training and stuff, and then I ended up doing a simulated hike of Everest. So the vertical, ascent of Everest. So basically, we chose a hill in our local town that was really steep, and I just walked up and down it for I think it was 9 hours. And at the end of it, celebrated, had a beer, grabbed a pizza, went to bed, and the next day I woke up and I couldn't move. I felt like I was wearing an iron blanket. I was like, oh my God, this is I've never felt, like this before. And kind of went on that week, and I was like, Jesus, didn't want to get out of bed, felt depressed, just felt like I was wearing an iron suit. And basically that went on for a good 3 or 4 months before I was like, I need to really solve this. This is something more than just I'm really tired from a charity event. So I started to do lots of exploration, and the continued assumed diagnosis was long COVID, which I would frame as a form of chronic fatigue syndrome. From the research that I've done, you can feel free to correct me in any way. So I then went on a journey of trying to get better, and essentially that journey was about 15 months of me trying to explore what it meant to recover from long COVID, which at the time was still very early. People didn't really know what it was. There was hypotheses, but quite quickly I said, right, who can help me? And I knew a guy that was local to me, Tom Parry. He owns an osteopath clinic, but is also a Wim Hof practitioner. Yeah. And I just thought, who do I know that knows a lot about, we'll say, holistic health, the breath? And I just sat down and I was like, mate, I need help. I'm in absolute bits. And when I, if I was to frame my symptoms, I was depressed, couldn't think clearly, low mood, couldn't work properly, couldn't make decisions, constantly overwhelmed, had a brutal migraine type headache every second of the day. Right. Just never felt happy, couldn't laugh, couldn't enjoy life, didn't feel like I was living in my body. It was horrible. And sat down with Tom, and he was like, right, we're just going to start to just sort of work on your nervous system a bit and just calm you down and give you a few metrics to show improvement. That was obviously one aspect of my recovery, and as I went through this kind of journey and I was researching and seeing what was happening in the media and studies and stuff, like anything that came out of long COVID, I was like, right, what is this? And part of that journey I worked with you and Health Path and looked at the gut, because stuff in the media started to come out around gut health. So I was like, okay, cool, well, I have had some problems with my guts in the past, so we'll explore that. We did some testing, found out my gut biosis score was 3. It was like, we should probably look at that. So we did a good couple of months of like supplements, changing diet, improved my gut biosis score by about 5. And I think it was at that point you sort of said, do you know what, I think we've had good mileage here. Ongoing, I just want you to, you know, be really mindful of what you're eating and all the rest of it. Now, within that, physical exercise was the main thing that would push me back. So anyone that's ever had any form of fatigue-based issue, as soon as you push yourself too much, you're taking, you know, steps backwards. So sometimes I go on a slightly longer walk, and for 3 weeks I'd just be like really bad again. Like you feel like you take 1 step forward and 9 steps back. It's really demoralising. It's very hard mentally and emotionally to recover from it. But the number one factor in like what I feel my recovery journey is basically learning a new way to live, think and emotionally show up for myself. And I've got a lot of new kind of perspectives on disease now and what is happening kind of within our bodies. But essentially I was a healthy guy, ate really well, trained all my life, never had anything like major happen, and my body just broke, like absolutely broke, and there was a straw that broke the camel's back. And when I reflect on it now, my behaviour led me to broke. That charity event just happened to be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
And you know, I reflect on it now, and you know, if anyone, I don't know if you could reflect on what I was like when you first met me, but you know, let's just say 5 years ago I was someone that moved fast, was constantly thinking, only probably slept 6 hours a night because I thought I was, you know, kind of bulletproof. I would treat washing up as like an Olympic sport, because if I could do it quicker, then I could move on to something else. I always had this like FOMO thing within like my work and myself. So like I just moved through life so quickly because I wanted to do so much, achieve so much, be so much, and it broke me because my nervous system was constantly working at 1,000 miles an hour, and it was not getting rest unless I took deep rest. Now, I knew how I behaved to an extent, and pre-COVID I used to take deep rest. So I'd go away for a week, it'd be like no phone, no laptop. I was quite good at that because I really enjoyed the restorative nature of it. But COVID meant that you didn't really get that because I had a young child that I had to care for. So my nervous system was now 100% of the time, 365 days of the year, being absolutely pumped. And yeah, who I am today is very, very, very different to 3 years ago in terms of my level of presence, how I treat my body, how I care for my mental and emotional health, my spiritual health. So yeah, that's kind of a whistle-stop tour.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot to sort of perhaps unpick there, but when you asked that question, I sort of wanted to say sort of Superman, because there was just that relentless go, 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 next objective, next project. And I remember, I think there must have been, I have a faint memory of like a social media post that you did, and I think it was like sort of late one night, or you'd commented on having to do an all-nighter because there was loads of boxers in your background, so something big was happening. Yeah. I was just like, geez man, like just go to bed. Take a rest. And yeah, I think how you described it is such an important concept for the layperson to understand, in particular, this idea that the thing that we think is the thing is just one thing. It was the final thing, but actually there's that accumulative nature of wear and tear. And I think we can sometimes put it all on the virus. You know, Epstein Barr virus for chronic fatigue syndrome, it often gets discussed a lot, for example, obviously, but it's so important to think, well, what was happening before that? And based on the research, obviously, and we'll probably touch on this a little bit, what was happening in our childhood. All of these things are going to be influencing, in particular, that nervous system.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Epstein Barr virus. So throughout my recovery journey, there was like nice little leaps all the way. So I was working with a sort of homeopath type practitioner, and she tested me and she was like, yeah, you've got dormant Epstein Barr virus, you've got dormant like 4 other things as well. So we treated in homeopathy terms, and I'm aware of the not so positive nature of homeopathy research and stuff, but when you're really ill, in my opinion, I will try anything to get better, end of. So when I think about the gut work that I did with you, the stuff that I did with her, the breathing work that I did with Tom, like these were all just like 10% chunks of recovery. And you know, sorry, we'll quite often think, oh, this is going to be the thing that will solve things, but again, it's just I've got water. This is just part of the picture. This is just part of the chunk, and you've got ill because it's a culmination of all these things that have collided together, and your body is now in a state where it cannot get better without unpicking all of these things. And we'd love to go to the doctor and be like, boom, pill, done. But in my experience, having spoken to a lot of people since being ill that are also ill, it is never just a thing. It is multiple things that we have to work through, and that's physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and then the environmental support systems around that. Like quite often, sometimes the environment that you were in that made you ill, you have to remove yourself from to a degree. So you might have to change things in your house, your job, who you surround yourself with, because they're not conductive to your healing journey. And that's why people that quite often go through ill health experiences and come out the other side, they are very different as a result of it, because they honour in themselves that they have to change in often profound ways. Like, wow, you're a really different person now. Like, yeah, I am. Otherwise, I would not be here in a healthy way today.
Yeah. And you used the words, I think before we started recording, as you know, you emphasised the dis-ease as a nice way of thinking about this. And do you remember that there was a game that certainly I used to play as a kid? It was lots of sticks, and you had to kind of put the sticks on Kaplunk.
Yeah.
I was thinking of
you drop the marble in, right? Put the sticks in, and then you drop the marble in, and the marble has to find a way through and pull the sticks out.
I didn't have the marble, so what I remember having loads of sticks, and then you had to pull the stick out, and then that was your turn. And basically, the person that pulled the stick out where it all just collapsed lost.
Okay.
So whatever that game is, but that's how I envision health now. Like, you know, you can pull one stick out, that might be a poor night's sleep, and you know, that system, that ecosystem is still intact. It's still functioning at what feels like 100%. Pull another stick out, and then you get to that point where one stick pulls out and everything just collapses. There's a lack of coherence, or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's a nice way of thinking about what we're talking about, a visual, hopefully, for people as well.
And within this, I think one thing I'm grateful for, and this has probably come from my mum and just kind of being an entrepreneur, is that a lot of this you will need help for. End of. Like, you can sit on the internet and you can research things, you can read books, you can do all that kind of stuff, and part of the problem with doing that is it will take a very long time to do all of this kind of stuff. And throughout my whole journey, I was just like, right, who's the best person I know for gut health? Oh, cool, right, Alex Manos. Who's the best person I know for breath work? Right, okay, Tom. Who's the best person I know for this? Right, okay, cool. And yeah, I was paying 90, 100, 150 pounds for sessions, for consultations, for supplements, but I was like, how valuable is my health to me? And how long do I want to stay ill? And and I can use like business terms, the period of time that I was ill in my business lost over £200,000 because I wasn't a good leader, couldn't make good decisions, I had the wrong goals like within it all. And then if I was to look at my relationship, like me and my wife had a chat like 3 months ago, and she told me, she was like, there was a point at time I was like, will our marriage last? Do I still want to be with this man? Because I'd changed a lot. I wasn't nice to live around. Like, I've never lived around someone that's been, you know, clinically depressed. my wife went through a little period where she wasn't that great and she was really low, and I got like, again, first-hand experience of what it might be like to live with someone that's that depressed every day. The moment you wake up, here we go again. Everything's a drag, nothing's fun. And, you know, rightly so, she was like, do I want this life anymore? So when you think about your recovery journey, you've really got to put the money and time into it. I was listening to a podcast you sent me, because we're going to do a breath session today together. And you sent me a podcast, and the guy that you were interviewing, he said, you can do all the talking therapy in the world, but I do not believe, and I now share this opinion, I do not believe talking therapy will get to the root cause of some of this stuff, because it's not transformational enough. You know, talking therapy is logical, it's rational, and he was talking about tapping into almost like the nervous system and energy in areas of the body that just you can't release by just almost like talking your way through it. And I've been working with an energy practitioner for the last 9 months. We have a session once a month, and that is single-handedly the number one thing that's given me the most like bang for buck in my recovery journey, because she's worked with me in going very deep into various different traumas and areas of my psychology and emotional and spiritual health. And I recommend her to like anyone that I meet that's in a bit of a pickle, and everyone that goes to her is like, wow, oh, okay. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I feel lighter, freer, I'm flowing more as a person. And I just think there's a lot that we don't know when it comes to sort of like human energy, and wrapped up within that is kind of trauma and how we store it and how we process emotion, and I think all of that stuff just has to be explored, in my opinion, from my experience.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I think, you know, I'm always intrigued by, I'll use the term sort of spontaneous healing. So people that have done something but had like a profound healing experience. They've gone from being incredibly chronically sick to essentially vibrantly well. And I've spoken to people who have done that through a single breathwork session. You know, there are people obviously who've gone into psychedelic ceremonies and had deep healing. I had one person reach out to me who was, the next step for her was to have her colon removed. She had inflammatory bowel disease. She went into an ayahuasca ceremony and has had a perfect gut ever since that ceremony. And I don't say that to obviously say everyone just go and do psychedelics, because that's definitely not what my message is. But I find it interesting that a lot of the times people will view those things as, it's either maybe just a bit woo-woo and they'll kind of just not even be curious about it, or we just sort of view it as this one-off thing. Why aren't we sort of actually proactively investigating what was the environment, what allowed that to happen? And isn't it fascinating that the human body has that capacity under the right context? And can we learn more about that? It's fascinating.
I'm really, really lucky I've got like the mum that I have, because she's very open to all of this stuff. She's been into yoga for like 20 odd years, and there's, you know, we know that in and around yoga you've kind of got meditation and breath work and just like transformational journeys of sorts. So I've always just sort of been exposed to it. But I went travelling when I was younger. When I was 20, I took my first trip to all around Asia, and that was when I first did mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and that was a transformational journey. And I felt that there was an opening of myself within that, and since then I've done various sort of different drugs with that intention, and I've also done different journeys within breath work and yoga, and been away to retreats and seminars, because there's huge amounts of value in the connection that you'll get with other people, the shared experiences, but then the energetic journey that other people can help facilitate. And I've always had my most profound shifts, openings, changes when it's been with other people, or it's been facilitated and aided by sound or smell, and you're including other sensory experiences within it, because it taps into your body in just, I'm just going to say unexplained ways. I don't really know how to explain it. It's like when I go to my energy healer, like she's using sound, she's using smell, she's shouting, she's getting me to visualize things. Like it's mad, it's incredible. But I've had my deepest, most profound shifts there. And sometimes you don't know how it's helping you, but you just like feel lighter, feel freer, feel great.
Yeah, and I think what you sort of share there around often also being with others, like I do think there's something inherently therapeutic in being seen going through your process, and also seeing others go through that sort of transformational process. Like there is definitely something inherently different compared to doing that, you know, in your bedroom online or something.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, we know the social element of human health. Ultimately, we are social creatures, so that, as you say, it has to be part of the healing process. And I think we're at a point where there's so many options to do this on your own behind closed doors because of the internet, etc., that actually can be a little bit of a barrier, and maybe one of the thousands of paradoxes there are when it comes to sort of health and healing. The fact that it's a great thing that that's available, but as you say, you need people, you need things and tools, you need context, you need knowledge that you're just not going to have if you haven't been doing this day in, day out, ultimately.
Definitely. We're very social creatures. I don't think we honour it enough. So if you were to think about, let's think about addiction, Alcohol Anonymous, very powerful ecosystem and environment, but it's an environment where there's a set of rules for recovery or a process, and then people come together to support each other in the journey in a positive way. And this is kind of what we're getting at. We're using other people and their positive energy to move towards more optimal levels of living to help you, you know, basically pull yourself up. And what is a real issue, and people have to identify it in themselves, is playing the victim to their situation and finding groups of people to play the victim together, because that is a very good way, in my opinion, to keep yourself very ill. So when I first got long COVID, I joined all the Facebook groups, and everyone in it was just like, life's so bad, like, and don't get me wrong, life was bad, but I didn't want to be around people that was just like, my life is a living hell, don't know what to do, can't get out of bed, I can't wait till they bring out this wonder therapy. And I was like, I need to get myself out of this. And I even started to post things in the group that would hopefully like help people. I'm like, by the way guys, like, this is what I'm doing, I found it really helpful, I've found this practitioner, I've done this. And the admins kept messaging me saying, can you please stop posting that because you're advertising other people's services?
Wow.
I was like, but these are the things that I've found that are helping. And I just felt the admins of that group, who potentially, and I didn't know if they did or not, had long COVID, and they were creating this echo chamber of people where it was okay to have long COVID. And I was like, it's not okay to have long COVID because I don't want to be ill. I want to, sure, find other people with long COVID, but are all committed to the journey of healing and evolving, and we support each other through that journey to optimal health. So I think it's really important to honour the power of other people that will positively help you. It's like the conversation of, you know, drugs and substances has come up today, and I was having a conversation with someone on the drive down here, and they viewed like drug taking as something that was quite negative, and I was like, but think of why that is. Most people that take drugs take it in a very negative way. They're trying to escape their emotional or environmental situation, and that is always going to lead to a negative outcome. Ultimately, whatever the drug is, whether it's alcohol is the number one most abused drug, but people do it to escape themselves. They don't like their life, they don't like who they are. But when you look at something like MDMA and the amazing things that especially countries like America, Netherlands, etc. are doing, when you do it in a safe way, under guidance, with the right intention, mind-blowing things happen. And I know that because I've done it several times, and it's incredible, absolutely incredible. But it's done in the right way, with the right intention, with beautiful, well-intentioned, positive people around you, and that has a huge amount of power.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think going back to what you talked about with talking therapy having its limitations, I've always sort of thought that if you're talking about your problems, you almost inherently are trying to fix it at the same level that you created it, so to speak. So it's hard to step outside your paradigm, your worldview, when you're still compos mentis, for want of a better way of putting it. And I think breath work, yoga, movement, psychedelics, whatever it may be, they allow you to get out of that normal perspective of the world, and you connect dots that you're just not going to be able to connect when you're in a normal state of consciousness.
Yeah.
So that for me is kind of one of their beauties. Ultimately, it opens you up to the possibilities that maybe you've locked yourself away from for various reasons. Ultimately,
yeah.
The
reality of being ill as well is you're going to have to grow as a person in a way that you've not grown before, and that's going to cause you to explore things you've never explored before, you've never had to challenge before, and you're going to need different people, different thinking, different ways of doing things, and yeah, like it's an uncomfortable journey. Like all the things that I've had to confront within my recovery have been uncomfortable. They're not easy, but I didn't want to stay where I was, so I had to grow as a person, mentally, emotionally, physically. And I think we're very good at focusing on the physical, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people need all the physical interventions, the diet changes, better approaches to sleep, the right kind of exercise, but you got to do the deep work, and I think the deep work is the most kind of profound stuff. And hopefully there's even like programs on telly starting to breach this in a very practical way, like the new Netflix series How to Live to Your 100. And I've only watched the first episode, but even within that first episode, the guy's like, do you know what I think the number one thing here is purpose and social connection. That's why these people are living so long. They have a reason, and they support each other, and they support each other with love and humility and a shared desire to just live and be present. It wasn't like, oh, they eat this amazing food and it keeps their gut health incredible, or they do this particular type of exercise and it keeps them really strong or whatever. And I think when we look at the body being out of balance, one of the best ways to bring it back into balance is through the energetic experience of self.
Yeah. And it really does highlight, I think, everything you've shared today, that the number, arguably the most common mistake people make in their healing journey, and this is something people say to me all the time, which is, Alex, I just want to get back to how I was.
Yeah.
And then actually what we're kind of saying is you want to go back to that environment which was actually really likely part of the problem.
Yeah.
So as you say, there has to be that actual shift in how you relate to yourself, to others, to the world, to your behaviours, etc. And it's very understandable, obviously, how we want to return to who we were, because that's our familiar, that's who we were ultimately.
Yeah.
But actually that realisation of, actually, I need to create a new Alex or a new Ben, that's the healing process in some ways.
And once you buy into that, it's beautiful, because I feel tomorrow there's going to be a new Ben, and then Saturday there's going to be a new Ben, and Sunday, and I'm very excited about that. I'm scared about the growth. The growth for me is like fascinating, and I'm just excited about exploring that every day. And sometimes that can take you away from the present, and I've had to learn how to be present, because we think we're present, and a lot of the time we're really not. Especially with my entrepreneurial behaviours and tendencies, I'm always moving forward, I'm always thinking about the future. But now I want to be extremely present because I have children, and they are the epitome of presence and play and laughter and carefree, and I want to like bask in that. So I've really had to learn that, because especially like when you're ill, you're in your head a lot. Like when I was ill, I was a terrible husband, I was a terrible boss, because I was just in my head all the time. I was trying to solve all my own crap. So having people that can help you get out of your head and into your inner experience, your body, how you're feeling, is really, really powerful, because just living in your head is a very dark place if you're ill.
Yeah. And I think, like you sort of started to allude to earlier, I think as a society we live in our heads. Like there isn't that much embodiment.
No.
And it's definitely been a weakness for me over the years. You know, even this morning I was brushing my teeth and I was like, God, I'm holding so much tension. And I just let go. I was like, okay, Alex, that's your reminder.
Yeah.
But yeah, even down to how much tension in your muscles is there, like, and that's why I think there's plenty of research around body awareness, mindfulness. There's some papers that use the term body awareness therapy, and from what I can gather from that, it's physiotherapy style practice ultimately, but it's bringing your awareness into the body as a way to, as you say, start to actually learn and understand what's going on there.
Yeah.
And not labeling it at the same time. I think mindfulness is a bit of a magical thing, really.
Yeah, it's probably a learned problem as well with the access of information online, because we're able to find information, we're able to educate ourselves, and that means we can become logical problem solvers. So if we go through an experience, then we learn something, we logically apply something to it, and we solve it temporarily, we then think, well, now I won't get into that situation again because I can think my way out of the problem.
Right.
But thinking didn't actually get you out of the problem. Thinking and then doing something got you into it. So we talk about exercise as a form of therapy. Well, thinking about exercise won't do it. Going and doing the exercise will, which will then release the endorphins and all the rest of it. So when you speak to people that say, I go to yoga every week because it kind of keeps me sane, that's a really good thing to honour, because they've seen that if they don't do that, thinking about their mental health in a more positive way doesn't quite cut it, but going and doing something that gives them an experience to improve their mental health brings them back up again. So they're refilling their cup with these kind of immersive, experiences, and whether that's going to the gym, running marathons, doing yoga, whatever. We all need these things that rebalance us. I haven't exercised for 3 weeks because I've been on holiday, and then I got a little bit ill, and I went to the gym for the first time yesterday, and I walked into the house and Lizzie was like, "You look good." I was like, "I feel great." You don't realise, because I hadn't been that bad, but I hadn't been that great, and you forget how much movement and something like lifting weights can kind of do for you, which I really value. And I woke up this morning and I was like, I feel so much better for doing some strenuous exercise yesterday and sweating and stuff. But the problem is we slowly slip back, and then because we know things, we can think ourselves out of a problem. We can't. We have to do things. We have to do physical things that change our physiology, which then change our psychology. And this is a bit of a bugbear for me in the world of mindset, that we have all these kind of ways of thinking around being positive and all the rest of it. And all of that's great, but sometimes doing something physical in an environment will change your physiology so much that it then changes your physiology. I hear people all the time that will go, going to the gym is my therapy. It is, because it changes their physiology in a way that their psychology just brightens up. The endorphins and the feeling that they get from applying themselves and challenging themselves totally changes their psychology.
Yeah. And going back to energy, what is movement going to do from an energetic perspective? I can only assume it's helping move energy as well, and energy needs to flow. I guess it's an Eastern medicine sort of principle, this idea of stagnant energy or flowing energy, ultimately put really simply. Movement, I think, is just a really powerful way of doing that, quite literally, when we think of, let's just say lymphatic health, for example, but also at a much deeper level probably as well.
I think a lot of people's lives can lack movement now, especially post-COVID, because a lot more people are working from home. So, so many people's day will be get up, go downstairs, make a cup of tea, have breakfast, go to your spare bedroom, sit down, You know, you might take the dog out for 15 minutes if you've got a dog. You know, you work all day and then it's like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Oh, I'll start making tea or whatever. And some people can spend so much time indoors, whereas pre-COVID, people would have got up, gone to work. They would have got out of their car, gone to work, gone on a little walk at lunch break. There just would have been movement and change and a shift in energy. And sometimes that would have been enough to just feel like your life has flow to it. I'm not saying, and I'm not even describing exercise yet. I'm not putting exercise in there. But like when I watched this program on Netflix, Live to 100, like their life seemed to have this flow. Like I get up and then I prepare food and then I go out into the garden and then I meet my friends and then I go to my crochet thing and then I do a charity thing. And like, don't get me wrong, a lot of these people were old and retired, so they didn't have that kind of like I work. But a lot of us just lack a bit of movement and change and momentum and then recovery in our life now. I think that's really important.
It is. And what came up there was thinking about movement from a micro-macro perspective. And all I mean with that is, how many of us are shallow breathers? So even with the breath, there is a small lack of a limited movement when it comes to the diaphragm, the lungs expanding, and that sort of ripples then into, the macro, which would be, are we getting to the gym or X, Y, Z? So it's interesting all the different levels that you can think about some of these things. Something you touched on before we started recording was nature.
Yeah.
So what role did nature play for you within all of this?
Honestly, not sure. And I say that because I've always been drawn to nature as a thing that should be in my life.
Right.
So I used to go to boarding school when I was younger, and it was set in, huge grounds, grass everywhere, trees, beautiful. And as soon as I started to travel and get into the working world, I was like, if I ever buy a house or if I ever rent, I want to be rural. Like, I don't want to be in a town, I don't want it to be busy. So I've always tried to immerse myself in nature. But I've literally just come back from a camper van trip around France, and we flew in, got a camper van, and we travelled all through the national parks, the Alps. We went everywhere. Didn't really have our phones on us, and we just hiked and swam in lakes and were immersed in nature. And we just felt, me and my friend, we just felt human, if I could just sum it up. We felt primal. There was no stress. We were in rhythm with nature. We watched the sun come up. We watched the sun go down. We felt the temperature. We felt the air. We heard creatures. We experienced what it felt like to be human. Like even going for a poo in the woods and not on a toilet. I was like, this feels weird, but it's not. It's totally natural. And do you know what? I pooed easier. Like it was just these tiny little things. And we have only been living in these concrete structures for, I don't know, let's just say 100 years. Before that, we would have been very connected to nature, and I would say we're very unconnected to nature. And there's we don't even need to talk about the research. There's plenty of research that shows if you get out in nature more, you feel better, mental health scores, yada yada yada. The problem is it's just really easy to put blockers in the way. Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's cold. It's like we always feel better after a walk outside, and then there's the connectedness part. We're all wearing shoes. How often do we touch the earth? Like, we're animals, but we're not very animal anymore because we've got high IQs. We think we can live in certain ways. We've got all this comfort around us, and I don't always think that's a good thing.
No, definitely not. And I think it's so easy to forget some of these. It's so basic. We're animals, we need to be in contact with nature, we are part of nature, and we're so disconnected. And I think there's, again, maybe a bit of a paradox. We were speaking about off air how the younger generations actually are shifting things, and the older generations might be holding us back in certain specific ways we were discussing. But what I want to bring up here is the newer generations, they're brought up so disconnected that obviously that's their norm. They don't have a reference point. And it's probably got worse and worse each generation to some degree. So it feels like maybe that is reversing with the idea of climate change maybe driving some of that. But it's still interesting how far we are from a natural experience. I had to do a Q&A yesterday, a webinar yesterday, and I was touching on sort of sleep and melatonin and thinking about darkness. Like, when was the last time we experienced real darkness? And even that is just like, wow, that's
almost feels a bit scary though.
Yeah.
Because we don't experience it anymore.
Right.
Like, where's the light? Even if it's a little bit, I just want to see a little bit. It's like, do you? Do we? And there's a beautiful purity to it. I remember when we were away in France in the camper van, and we'd go out for a wee or whatever, and we'd just both stand there looking at the stars, going, just feel that intensity of the darkness and the quietness, and it was beautiful, and you didn't feel unsafe.
Right.
Like, you felt fine, and it felt human to do that and not rely on something.
Was there a sense of this might sound a bit strange, but sort of a sense of your place in the universe? Whenever it is a clear night and you can really see the stars, I think there's that, holy cow, like, it's pretty big out there, and it gives us context that if you don't have, then you lack that ultimately, if that makes sense. The
context that me and my friend James spoke about while we were away is that actually we are so insignificant in every way. The answer is just to be present, just to feel where you are, what you're doing, and like not overthink it. And that's what we really loved about being in nature for a week, is just we felt like we didn't want to go back to the normal world because we were just so present. We weren't thinking about the next thing, or and obviously we've got to try and integrate that into our daily lives, because there is a certain way of living right now. And I do find this quite challenging, because I almost want to move more, I want to be in nature more, I want to live my life a bit differently, but then I run an internet-based company, so I needed a laptop and kind of like a room without rain in it and all the rest of it. So I feel like I'm living not quite in the way that I want to. So I'm trying to work out what this kind of looks like. So I'm currently looking at building a new outdoor office, but out of 100% wood, out of like pure slabs of trees. So I literally walk in and I'm like, wow, I'm like in a hut in the wood almost. And I only do that for a certain period of time, and then I go out for a walk, and I just feel like I can flow and connect. And there's always just this like, okay, I'm disconnected, but now I'm connected. Okay, I'm disconnected, but now I'm connected. And we need that rhythm, because if we go without it for too long, that's when the bad stuff creeps in.
Yeah, I guess that's another way of thinking about all of this sort of rhythm. Ultimately, like if we are nature and we are an animal, then we need to honour the natural rhythms. And this is something that I've been interested in for a while, and you can think of lots of different examples, but our microbiome should oscillate throughout the year based on the season and the rhythms. Like, there should be more an abundance of food at times of year, and it should be more restricted at times of year, and cortisol and melatonin levels should be wildly different from our short summer nights and our long winter nights. And there's that, I think I just really like this idea of actually our physiology is just, it's fluid and it's shifting, or should be shifting with nature and the seasons and those natural cycles. And we're at a point, because of modern living, and again there is obviously plenty of positives from this as well, but it means that we have that stagnancy, if that's the right word. Like, we can eat the same stuff throughout the entire year, we can have the same temperature in the house the entire year. And I think there's a book that Wim Hof mentioned once called Civilized to Death. And I think the general principle is we are, civilization, and being civilized has actually taken away quite a bit of our resiliency, because we're not exposed to the natural rhythms anymore. And
our expression.
Yeah.
I think how many emotions we want to exhibit or express, but it's frowned upon. Like anger, or like if you cry, you make other people around you like really uncomfortable. And it's like, why? Crying is a totally normal thing. Being angry is a totally normal thing. Not being angry all day, but angry for a short period of time at something that that's like totally normal. That's totally okay. And I just think so much of our life, mentally, emotionally, functionally, environmentally, we're just in these neat boxes. It's not very human to be neat, and the box that we wake up in keeps us all neat and comfortable, and then our work environment keeps us all neat and comfortable, and then our logical brain tries to keep us all neat and comfortable and tidy and routined, and it doesn't work like that. You need like expression and change and movement and experience and laughter, and that's why I think wrapped up in this conversation is an exploration of how movement and sound and guidance and the breath and various different compounds or whatever can help facilitate change and exploration, and that, and then the more natural world that would have been happening all the time, because we would have lived in the seasons, it would have rained, a tribe would have visited us, like there just would have been so much more change than there is now. But we want to live 365 days a year to the same rhythm. It doesn't work like that. We're not built to work like that. We need flux. And I get it all the time. I get this, especially since I've had kids, and I'm not saying this is the right thing, I'm just saying this is the current, present experience for me. Having young kids, it does feel more routine and regimented. Also because we find in our experience, your kids operate better with routine and regimentation, because a grouchy 3-year-old is not a good 3-year-old. So you try and keep that rhythm, but then you kind of get stale and frustrated because you're like, where's the change in my life? Where's the movement? Where's the fun? Where's the something? And that's because I just think we sort of live in a box too much. 9 to 5, just don't think it's healthy.
No, the word come out is like that, as you say, that novelty, and I've said it a lot over the last few months, I think, but I do feel like, with our Oscars, 2.5 ultimately, and there's that Groundhog Day feeling, like, oh, it's bath time. And I love it, but yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying there. You need that balance, and I think you shared some stuff before we started recording, and I think something for me to take away from today is getting things in the diary more. So ahead of time, it's like, okay, I've got this thing coming up that's just gonna give me a little bit more variety or novelty, or help me just see the bigger picture again. Because I think when you do have the routine, and when you do get a little bit stuck like that, everything starts to get a bit stuck. Like your thinking, your awareness that this is kind of actually just a phase, it will pass. Like I found a couple of times being a dad so far where I've got to that point of, oh my God, like, is this it? It's like, well, no, it's not. But I think because everything felt stuck, even like my ability to think outside the box or just reframe something got stuck as well. Yeah,
definitely. Movement is medicine, as they say, but that movement is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, spiritual, environmental. It's all these micro stimuluses that can help us out kind of so much. But within that, and because we're talking about disease quite a lot, I think there's a real importance to honour rest in the right way. Don't get me wrong, when you're ill you have to rest, like you're forced to rest. But rest is kind of multifaceted, and there's different kind of levels to rest. And the modern workplace, I think, doesn't hold it in high enough regard, because we always just look at people in a business sense as output, cogs in the machine that generate an outcome, whether that's financial, transactional, whatever. And within all of us we need to honour the cycles of rest more. And sure, it might mean sitting in front of the telly, but for a lot of people it's actually mental rest. Most people are not physically overwhelmed. Like our body can handle a lot. Like, my wife's mum's stepdad's a farmer, works 12 hours a day. Physically, he can handle that every day being a farmer. What we're struggling with is the mental and emotional rest that we need. And the flip side of that is a lot of us are not getting enough play, just spontaneous laughter, just that flow where you're not having to do something. Life's not a to-do list. And I've fallen into that trap in a big way as an entrepreneur, where my life was a to-do list. Like, get all these things done and you'll get these kind of results. And don't get me wrong, I got a lot of great results. I'd say I've been, successful in many areas of life, depending on how you frame it. I'm happy anyway. but there was definitely a lack of just deep rest and play and spontaneity, and I have to be in a certain place. And I think kids teach you that as well, because all they want to do, like you think, oh, I'm going to go and take them to X, Y, and Z, and actually they'll happily just bomb about in the garden for an hour and a half, just picking up worms and whatever, and you're like, what are we doing? It's like, actually, let me reframe this. Let me look at it differently. Where's the play for me here? Where's the play and spontaneity and presence for me here?
It's like toys. You can buy them these beautiful toys, but Oscar will just be playing with a saucepan and a wooden spoon.
Yeah,
it's just like they'll just they'll have what they have. They're like, I think there is some real beauty in observing little kids. Definitely. But just going back to what you said there, and the key word being deep, something I found myself saying time and time again to clients is, look, you've had months, sometimes years of acute stress, like high level stress, but the only real rest you've allowed yourself it's shallow, for one of the opposite word, and it's kind of, it's binging on Netflix, it's on the couch watching TV, disconnecting. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for all of that.
Totally.
But I think if you've been up here with kind of your stress levels, then you, as you kind of say, you need something that's going to take you deep and down into that real restorative time. And I think that's where nature and removing ourselves from technology, those two things are almost prerequisites for it.
When people don't know what's going on with their health and they're just sort of like stuck, one of my best bits of advice for a lot of people is I just say, how long can you take off work, responsibilities, whatever? Because when you don't know the solution to a problem, sometimes you just need the space to find the solution to the problem, or just remove the stresses anyway. So most people go on holiday, and usually, if they've not just gone away and drank alcohol all week, they'll come back feeling more refreshed, more balanced, more centered, happy to get back to life. So can we replicate that on an even macro level? Like, what would happen if you did go away for 3 weeks and you were like, right, I'm not going to have a to-do list, I'm not going to have any stress, I'm going to get in nature, I'm going to go swimming. Like, you'd be amazed at what would happen to your physiology and psychology without putting just all the inputs in. But the input starts to be good food, fresh air, water, because you're whatever, and there's some interesting research around just the power of being in water and having it move over your body and your skin. What would happen? And I remember speaking to someone that was suffering from long COVID as well, similar journey to me, and I said, what fixed it for you? And she goes, I went on holiday to Australia for a month and didn't do anything, just did what I wanted, rest, walked a bit, and I came back like fixed. And I was like, interesting. Why is that? Now it sounds like she came back and didn't plonk herself back in her old environment. She was, very much in control of that. But I thought, that's interesting. You've got to unpack that. The influence that she was having on her central nervous system, which I think is a huge factor in, kind of disease, and my experience anyway. And that's through deep rest, deep rest.
Yeah. And it's hard, isn't it? I think, it can be hard. I can think of so many conversations where it's like people comment on, they go away for a week holiday and it takes them 3 days to be able to kind of just actually acclimatise and switch off and not think, oh, where's my laptop? I just need to check that email or something. So it takes half the holiday just to even get to a point where you're now like, okay, I've unwind a little bit. And then maybe the 2 days before we come back, we're starting to think, oh God, that inbox is going to be there. So it's true that you need time, ultimately. You need to be able to carve out that space. Obviously, it's not always possible, but the question is always going to be, I guess, what is possible? But it is a big one, and I would agree with you around like the nervous system being arguably, if we wanted to generalize things, because obviously everyone's different, but that nervous system is such a foundation for being able to heal ultimately. So it has to be in the right place. We could probably go on and on, Ben.
We could. How long have we been recording?
It's been almost an hour, I think.
Oh wow.
But we probably need to think about preparing for our breath session.
We do. Very excited.
So Thank you for coming. You're the first person I've done 200 podcast episodes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first one. Oh no, yeah, this is the first one I've done in person.
Oh, cool.
And it's the first time, like in this little crib. So thank you for coming over.
You're welcome. 2 cherries popped.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to just conclude with at all?
So if people are listening to this thinking, okay, what's the next step for me? I think go inwards and try and get in touch with your intuition and, what that deep gut sense is saying like, where are these big macro problems in my life? And it might be that you have had big childhood trauma, or you have a lot of anxiety, or you have a lot of environmental stress, or X, whatever it is, whatever that big macro thing in your life is that could drive physical, mental and emotional stress. Go and start to really work on that, and continue to do all the practical things that you're doing, like eating well, sleeping well, moving well, or moving within your capacity, because I couldn't move that much when I was ill. But go and do the deep work, because for me that's where all the magic started to happen, where I started to do all the deep work on trauma that I've had, how I was pushing my body, how I thought I needed to turn up in the world and prove myself, and how that was kind of making you ill. And even if you're sitting here right now going, oh Ben, that's not the answer to my problems, it's gonna benefit you anyway. No one never said, oh, I'm really not glad that I went and did that therapy, did that work, did that stuff. And yeah, it is going to cost you some cash, but that £500 that you'll spend on having 6 one-to-one sessions with X person, or going to X group or whatever, will be the best investment you'll ever make in your health. And it's an investment in yourself, it's an investment in your future health, and we all deserve that and should honour that within ourselves.
Perfect. Ben, you're a legend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. It's been good. It's been fun.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I'm going to be back very soon speaking with Dilly, who is returning to the podcast. I spoke to Dilly previously around the product Toxiprevent and its role in improving histamine intolerance. This time we're going to be talking about vitamin D. He's been doing a bit of a deep dive into the research. So we're going to be talking about testing. We're going to be talking about the different forms of vitamin D, how it's metabolized, how we can start to understand the actual dose that we might require to optimize our vitamin D level. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that episode with you very soon. But until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I will share that with you in a few days' time. Thanks, everyone.